The Manage Credentials screen allows you to view, add, edit, and import student credentials. Before submitting your final enrollment data for review, you will need to indicate any credentials your students attain. In the Manage Credentials screen, each of your programs must either list the students who receive credentials in the current year or state that no students attained credentials in the current year. Credentials will be reviewed for accuracy during the validation process, and you may also view this information as part of a student's profile on the Manage Student screen. When you are ready to input credentials, log into CTEIS using your My Login username and password. Click the Data Entry tab under the Enrollment header, and then select Manage Credentials. In the Manage Credentials screen, use the Select District field to choose a district. The grid is populated with active programs within that district. You may sort this grid by clicking on column headers. For an Excel export of all students in the district's program who have received a credential and are still in school, click the All Programs Credentials Export button at the top of the grid. Please note, this will only display students with credentials. Click the Select button of the program to manage the credentials within a single program. The Program Details panel displays information regarding the selected PSN. Often, credentials are associated with certain coursework, and you can select students based on the courses they are currently enrolled in using the radio buttons: All Currently Enrolled, Enrolled in Course, or In School but Not Enrolled. And remember, if the selected program does not offer credentials, mark the selected program will not have any credentials. To get students, click the Get Students button for a list of students according to your selection. In the student list, select students by marking the checkboxes next to their UIC. Assign credentials to the marked students by selecting the credential from the drop-down menu below the grid. You can select Authorized Credentials, select Supplemental Credentials, or you can input entries for a suggested credential that allows you to suggest a credential for future consideration. Please note, for credentials to meet the 5S1 Core Performance Indicator, credentials must be selected from the approved credential list. A list of all approved and non-approved credentials can be found on the CTEIS knowledge base at support.cteis.com. After you have made your selection, click the Add Credential button. A credential linked to a student appears within the Credentials column. To delete a credential, click the Remove link. Please note, you can export your credentials into an Excel file by clicking the Export button above the student list. Importing credentials. CTEIS can import Excel files that include the student UIC, PSN, credential code, and credential name. To import credentials, from the Data Entry tab, select Upload Credentials. Select the file you wish to import and click the Process Records button to upload and review your file. Errors, if any, are displayed in the error column of the temporary grid of the resulting screen. To correct errors, remove the file, modify the errors, and upload your file again using the steps mentioned. Click the Import Records button beneath the grid to import your students. For programs that will not have credentials, add a row to your import file with the correct PSN, a UIC of 9s equivalent to the 10 characters of the UIC, and a credential code of X. CTEIS will mark the program as offering no credentials. A Managed Credentials guide with instructions for manual or import details, as well as an importing template, can be found on the CTEIS knowledge base at support.cetis.com. To review credentials for a student, you can access the Program History section of the Manage Students page. A summary of all credentials received for a program can be found on the Buildings Report page in the Program and Course Reports section. Public summary of credential reports can be found on the CTEIS report sites at report.cetis.com. And, as always, if you have any questions or require assistance, please review the CTEIS knowledge base at support.cetis.com or email the CTEIS help desk at cetishelp@ptdtechnology.com.